We're on the clock now. We give our panelists 1 minute as a group to highlight some of the week's top stories. Governor Martinez says she is weighing the idea of a special legislative session on economic incentives to lure giant battery factory here from Tesla and the promise of 6,500 jobs, but it's not clear exactly what would come from such a move. New Mexico is competing with Arizona, Nevada, and Texas for the project. Those are the states we know about. And Rob, one of the governor's rivals, said this makes New Mexico look desperate. I'm just unclear what we could possibly do from the legislative side of things on a private enterprise like this, but I'll leave that to you guys to flesh out.
A couple things. First of all, I'm glad to see that people on the left are being a little bit skeptical about this green energy thing. So many times people on the left, when you hear of green energy, like shot solar, oh, let's give it to them, and we don't have any clawbacks. The other thing here, I look at things very often through a political lens, and I think a lot of this is who's going to get blamed if we don't get it. So maybe that's why there's talk of a special session, so that way, if we don't get it, the governor can say, well, it wasn't just me, the legislature was involved in this thing too.
That's an interesting point. I like your political lens there. I like that. Richard, what do you think? Anything can come out of a special session for a private enterprise?
Yes, they will come up with incentives. But I'm bothered about that, really, that we're competing with these other states. Sometimes I wonder, this is a home run, this one here. Maybe we ought to try some more singles and doubles and so forth. Get some smaller ones that will create more jobs, create jobs.
That's part of the thinking out there about this. We're under 10 seconds here, Laura, but I know it just seems to me that, I'll let you, go ahead, your final thought there.
10 seconds.
Right.
I mean, there's a number of things the legislature could do. I mean, they're not supposed to be acting on legislation running one company, but we all know that there are ways around that, and so I do think there are certain measures they could pass.
And special sessions aren't free, by the way. Right. They cost money. I mean, so we'll see how the taxpayer likes it. A new report from the Legislative Finance Committee argues that remedial education courses at the state's colleges and universities are ineffective and expensive. These are classes below college credit level that students must take if they are not ready for regular college courses. And last year, about 30,000 students did take remedial courses at a cost of $22 million. Diane, the LFC says the report offers a number of remedies to address this, but whoa, I think this caught a lot of people by surprise. I think the assumption is you go in, you get a little tune-up with some remedial stuff, and you're ready to go, at least partly. And now it looks like it's not even close. Your thoughts on this?
I think this just simply bolsters and confirms the fact that our public schools aren't doing their job.
Right.
We should never have been offering remedial classes. You can't teach a child to read in 3 months. We need to go back, and remedial should be back in K through 12.
Yeah. There's been good success, Laura, with dual credit courses and other things. I mean, there's a lot of good things that are out there. I know you're aware of this too.
Absolutely.
But something clearly has not worked. What's your thought on this?
I mean, I remember in high school taking dual credit course at university to get some of the basics out of the way, but those were sort of honors-related courses.
Right.
When I taught at universities, I was really surprised at the lack of skill in writing and comprehension that you would expect from grad students even. So clearly there hadn't been, there isn't an opportunity to teach a lot of that in grad school or in college. Right. It has to happen earlier.
Interesting. Richard, your thought?
Well, I agree with what they said. To me, my reaction to this was, well, what's new? I mean, I think we all knew that. It really wasn't working. I'm not sure it's really paying off.
This needs attention, doesn't it? This is something that we've got a whole group. It's like a thing going through a snake. We need to find a way to get this worked through. Now, there are 5 Democratic hopefuls looking to challenge Governor Susana Martinez, but a new poll indicates Attorney General Gary King may have the best chance if voting were held today. That's despite the fact that King came in last in a Democratic primary held here last month. This is the first national poll on New Mexico races, and Democrats claim it shows that Ms. Martinez is more vulnerable than many believe. Republicans say the Democratic polling company is skewing the numbers, and Laura, were you surprised? By the way, we should mention this PPP is the name of the group, and they, to my take, they're never too far off from other polls out there, so we'll have to see what happens here. Your sense of what this poll does for Gary King, though, was this what he needed at this point, or did the others just say, "Oh, the heck with it. It doesn't matter. It's just another poll"?
Well, I certainly think the others are gonna do that. I mean, that's their only choice at this point. I don't think that's gonna affect anybody and make them drop out because there's one poll. I'm not entirely surprised. The King name is a very well-known name. This is often name ID in a low information situation where voters don't have all kinds of information that the insiders tend to have or have already been bombarded with. So I think we're at the point now in the campaign where the focus was on the party insiders because of the pre-primary convention. This is on both sides. And then they start to roll out to a broader base of voters. So there will be a lot more information that gets, and it's all about when they peak. So do they peak, he may be peaking now, this being Gary King.
Sure.
But is he going to be peaking on, June 3rd when the election is held?
Good point.
So, there's a lot that could happen between now
Sure,
and then.
interesting. Rob, on the poll itself, fair enough that some of the complaints from conservatives were two things, likely voters versus people who vote were polled, and also that Republicans were somewhat underrepresented.
Right.
Would you go with that?
28%, and I think in the 2010 election it was 38%. But even if you take that, then let's take that poll and throw out the Republicans. Just take a look at the Democrats. Well, if it's a Democratic polling company, then they don't have an axe to grind. And I think that's a big boost for, well, I don't know if a big boost. It's a needed boost for Gary King.
Fair enough. We'll
After
leave
he came
that
in
there.
fifth in the
Right on.
pre-primary convention.
The state of New Mexico routinely withdraws union dues from the paychecks of workers who do not participate in a union but are represented by that union in contract negotiations. This is done with workers' consent. Now, Governor Susana Martinez wants to stop that practice. She says that the money is used for political attacks. One union official called the move an act of war, that's a quote, and said public employees will fight through the arbitration process. Diane, let me start with you on this one. We're a little short on time here. This is a classic, though. Union dues are a classic thing taken out.
I know, but what if this governor says, I've got lots and lots and lots of state employees that belong to the National Rifle Association.
Right.
Let's collect their dues for them. It won't cost anything. They represent certain people. There is nothing that says, except conditions and opportunity, that has said we're going to collect union dues. In the same way that we sometimes collect, like companies choose to do union dues, they may do the United Way or whatever.
That's right.
But they're not part of state government. In the same way the NRA is not part of state government. Why on earth would you collect dues?
Interesting. Laura, finish
I
up.
disagree because it's part of a collective bargaining agreement. It isn't, the NRA doesn't have a representation at state government where they're actually providing services to state government. I think that's a huge difference. The unions do. It's a collective bargaining agreement, and I think that she's bordering on unfair labor practices.
Interesting. Someone may bring that up. Want to cover more of this on the web? A lot of good subjects here. Thank you all for your time and being here. Richard,
Thank you.
good to see you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Enjoyed it.
As always, all of us here at New Mexico in Focus appreciate your time and your effort to stay informed and engaged. Catch up with us anytime on social media by searching New Mexico in Focus, and you can find archived interviews and bonus material from our shows on our YouTube channel and at newmexicoinfocus.org. I'm Gene Grant. We'll see you next week in Focus.